Is Matt ready to go too?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Are we back live now?
I'm restarting it now.
Okay.
Okay, we're going back live again.
Okay. All right. So for those of you just joining us, we are at 1.10. This is public participation on action items only. Heather, do you have anything for this portion of the meeting?
I don't have any. No.
Okay. Then we will close that portion of the meeting and move to action items. So tonight we have action items 2.01 through 2.16. Are there items that anybody would like to pull at this time? Not to be included in the consent agenda. No?
I'd like to pull 2.12, please.
Say again, 2.12. 2.12. Okay. I'm going to pull 2.01, 2.15, and 2.16. Anything else from anybody? Okay, then we will have a consent agenda for action items 2.02 through 2.11, 2.13, and 2.14. So 2.02 to 2.11, 2.13, 2.14. Okay, so do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Moved.
Mr. McKenzie, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cairns. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those against? Any abstentions? Okay. 2.01, this is the professional personnel report. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Mr. McKenzie? There's a second.
Second.
Mr. Shapiro? Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those against? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
I abstain. Okay, so abstentions from Mr. Shapiro and from myself. .12 memorandum of agreement for Jeff Dempsey. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Is that Mr. Shapiro?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
Mr. McKenzie? Discussion?
I just want to say that over the last 2 years, we have been asking to have separate coaches for the boys and the girls cross-country team. And that hasn't come to fruition for whatever reason. I just think that we should have separate coaches. I believe it is affecting the performance of the teams. And I think we need to rectify that situation.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. All those in favor of this memorandum signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against?
Nay.
Mr. McKenzie? Any abstentions? Motion passes. 2.15. This is the policy manual update. This one, okay, so this is policy manual update for policy 0125. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Move.
Mr. McKenzie, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cairns, any discussion? I wanted to pull this just to make everybody aware, the public aware. This is a first read, but we are putting this to a vote tonight for adoption because it is time sensitive. This is a COVID-19 workplace and student learning environment accommodations policy. So again, I just wanted to pull it so everybody understood why this was being adopted tonight. Does anybody have any other comments?
I thought that also they wanted to have public participation, the second one after board comments. So that's not included in here, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again?
That's the next policy. That's the next policy.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments for 2.15?
No.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those against? Any abstentions? Okay. 2.16, these are first readings on the policy manual updates for policies 1230, which is public participation in board meetings, and 5152, which is admission of non-resident students. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Mr. McKenzie, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Shapiro, discussion. Melissa, if you had something you wanted to say to this.
I don't know if this is the board is going after public participation. I
Well,
know,
this is, well, I'm not sure what you mean. This would be, if you wanted to talk about the proposed changes to the policy, that what you could do right now.
I thought that Mr. Carnes had asked that he wanted to have public participation at board meetings after have that before board member comments.
That would be part of a policy that's not even up for first reading.
That wasn't discussed at this point.
Okay, because I'm not on the policy committee, so.
Right. So the two policies that are being on the two policies that are up for first reading tonight is the public participation at board meetings, which is 1230. The major changes there, aside from a few, word changes, adding, section or an orderly manner. The big change here is the proposition to add officers as well as district personnel and students as being off limits.
Right. I see that. What I'm saying is that the first public participation section shall occur prior to the action items. The second participation section shall occur prior to adjournment. So that would mean that it's after board member comments. So I'm just that one of the board members, and forgive me if I'm wrong, Mr. Carnes, but I thought you wanted that prior to board member comments. Like, wouldn't we change this board resolution, this public participation at board meetings? Wouldn't we change that policy there for what Don was asking for?
Well, that was not discussed at the policy meeting, and I think going back in time, I think that the reason that the board comments were put prior to the second round of public participation was to not have a type of answer to something that someone said who was coming up to the podium, which of course we haven't done in a while, but whatever. So I think that's why the order is the way it is at the moment. But we did not discuss it at the last policy meeting. While we did change wording in policy 1230, we did not change the order of what goes on at the board meeting. I don't know if that helps, but.
If I can add, there's also another policy that talks about the order of the components of the board meeting, and that's policy 2350, which is not discussed.
Right.
Can I just make a general comment with regard to the policy procedure? I believe that it's been past practice, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the board would normally receive like a red-lined copy of the policy denoting what's been changed, in red. So we can sort of address that part, like you guys go to policy committee, you sit down, you discuss the changes that you're going to make, and you typically return with, either having emailed or even a photocopy, if that helps, of what you changed in red in the policy, so the board members can see the policy, look at it and say, well, maybe you should word it this way when these readings happen, so that we can sort of get a feel for what's going on, rather than fishing it out the way we did today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In the past, general practice was for proposed changes to be presented to the board, and then for comments to be provided back to the policy chair before they got the first reading.
Right.
Now, in this case, honestly, there's not, these are very minor changes, so I don't know if a whole lot would have changed, but Melissa's questions probably would have been answered prior to now.
Right. It does two things. Number one, it keeps the board members in the loop with what the changes are going to be. And number two, it streamlines the meeting so we don't have to go through this, back and forth during the meeting. It's just food for thought. I'm not criticizing.
No. You know what?
We should try to adhere to that idea. It's the way we've always done it.
Angus, I think you're 100% right that whatever changes, when we come across a policy that we feel needs to be changed, or just to be updated because it's now 2020 or 2021, which we can't get here fast enough. But we will from now on submit the either the red line or something in red or whatever, so that you can see what was changed. Not you, but all of us.
Right.
The public as well.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you for that.
And just as a point of reference for the public, on the agenda, the linked documents are highlighted. The changes are highlighted in yellow.
Oh, okay. Well,
right. So in regards to 1230, though, I am going to go on record and say that I do not agree with the proposed change. I don't believe that a board officer should not be able to accept criticism from the community. I believe that we are not district employees. We are voted on by the public. We are put here by the community, and they have a right to speak positive or negative about us. I mean, I think being a board member is a very different type of role than being a paid employee of the district. So I know that there have been some comments recently that have been negative towards one or two board members. I've been on the receiving end of that as well. Nobody likes it, but I don't believe that we should be silencing the community in regards to the 7 of us that sit up here. I think they put us here and they should have a right to say what they want about us.
Paul, do you want to answer that question?
I agree with you, man.
Changes? Paul?
Well,
I'm going to piggyback on you, Matt, and I agree with you 100%. We're elected here by the people, and if they have something to say to us, I mean, let them criticize us. A wake up call. We got to hear the community. And if they want to yell at us, we got to accept that. So I totally agree with you. I think we're not off limits, and we should face the criticism. Thank you.
Paul?
yeah.
You're the chair of the policy committee.
Right.
You want to explain exactly what took place?
Oh, okay. There was a lot of discussion, but I think if it pertains to school business, that's one thing. If someone is upset with the way I voted on a certain issue, if someone is upset with the way I express myself about a certain issue or topic or whatever, yeah, sure, I am fair game completely. But when comments are made about personal things that have nothing to do with the district, that maybe someone makes a comment about a picture of me that they found from the 1990s or from the early 2000s, and they make a comment about that, or it's a Facebook thing which has nothing to do with the school district, but it's something that's my Facebook page, and they make a comment about that. That's something that has nothing to do with someone coming up to the podium and addressing about issues that they may have with any of the school board members or anything that's going on in the district, but they're basically venting and they're upset with us because of something that we might have said that has nothing to do with the school district, that we said in a private situation, in a private event, or even at a public event, but they're coming at me from there. I would think that anyone who would come up to the podium is going to address us, is going to make comments about Suffern Central School District. And that's it. Those who talk about the action items, that's separate. And now you can talk about anything, but anything, you're not going to talk about, we saw the International Space Station and it was flying over and I saw it 5 times in one week. That has nothing to do with Central Suffern School District. So
I understand where you're coming from with that. More so the part about people dredging things up from the past that have zero relevance.
Right.
I understand where you're coming from with that. The Facebook stuff, I sort of on the fence with, because I think when you have a public position like this, it's very hard to tell somebody, well, what I do on my Facebook page is off limits, although I still have a responsibility as a board member. I'm not quite sure I agree with that one, but again, this is so much of this is going to be how we see things as individuals, and I don't expect us all to agree on this. But based on what you just said, though, the policy, as I read it, doesn't allow for a comment about anybody, even regarding district business. So the way I read it, it says the board will not permit in public participation section discussion involving individual district personnel, students, or officers, period. It doesn't say that only as it relates to non-district matters. So if I were reading this policy, I would read this to mean that everything is off limits for every person who works here, all students and board members, period. I don't see how this is worded in a way where if somebody's upset with a vote that I made, they have the ability to come up and, tell me that. Chris?
Yeah, during the discussion, I'm on the policy committee, and during the discussion, a point was brought up about naming names and using specific names of individuals. And in the past, that was not allowed. Students, even, board members, even teachers was not allowed in the past. So the discussion was perhaps to put some sort of definition around that in terms of putting board officer in there to denote that using specific names that would take care of that. It's a very fine line, and I've been back and forth on it since the policy meeting, and I recall bringing this up at the meeting that it could be somewhat restrictive and border on censorship. That
Yes.
like Matt said, this is an elected position, and we put ourselves out there, and we should be able to face criticism and be able to face things and sort of step up to what our decisions are. So I've been back and forth on this, and I really have been struggling sort of with that wording as well. So it's not a done deal for me, even coming out of the policy committee. I've had some reservations about that, and the possibility of sort of censoring someone from calling one of us out, and in an orderly way, but criticizing in an orderly way. But I wouldn't want that to happen, to the public, to not be able to voice a negative opinion, just as
Right.
a positive.
The fact is, to me, if there's a vote, and let's say it's a budget vote, and I vote against that budget, and the community members don't like that, they should have the right to step at the podium or send an email that gets read that says, I do not agree with what Mr. Kern did. I don't agree on you voting this down. Whatever it is, people should have that ability. And I agree. I mean, I think you're getting close to censorship. But
Yes,
again, but I do see, Paul, your side where it gets off the rails, where it's off topic completely.
correct. Correct.
I understand. I get that.
And I think if someone said, if I voted, whichever way I voted about something, and someone was upset, and they came up to the podium or sent an email and said, just in those words, Mr. Shapiro, I'm upset with the way you voted on the ABC, whatever it was. You know what? If they said it like that, that's fine. You know what? I understand completely, but unfortunately, as we have experienced recently, that was not the language nor the tone that came out. And
I get it.
And some look. If you have a very sweet voice and you call someone ugly, maybe it's not so bad. But if you have a harsh tone and you call someone ugly, wow, it comes out really awful, right? So sometimes it's in the deliverance, and I'm just thinking that any personal attacks, not because of something that we've done, but when it becomes so personal that it's like has nothing to do with that person as a board member, that's not right. And we as board members and community members and parents, we should all be setting an example for the younger generation to not only see but also to hear how people carry themselves at a meeting. So So there's a lot to discuss.
Yes, there is, and I think, I think it should probably go back to committee. Because I think that the policy right now is it's too restrictive, because it doesn't allow somebody, like you just said, to get up and say, Mr. Shapiro, I wish you had voted in favor of X. This is too restrictive to the point where somebody doesn't even have the ability to say something as plain and innocuous as that. Angus, I think you had your hand up first.
So it also says in the policy at the end, that last paragraph, that you as the president have the right to, deal with that in the meeting. You can shut somebody off if it does get details.
Yeah, and I think that's like a last resort. And
Right.
if you make it so that officers can't be named at all, then that goes first.
Right. Well, I'm agreeing with you. I think that you should allow people to speak about us. I think you should. What I'm saying is if it gets off the rails to the point where it's talking about somebody's family or
I
job performance outside of the school board or what have you, that's where you could say, sir, if you're entitled to your opinions, but it doesn't belong in this forum. You can take those opinions home with you and move on. I mean, there's a provision for that in the current policy. So.
Right. Okay, Melissa, I know you had your hand up.
I just wanted to add that I think that and this is before you even said it, that it goes back to the committee, because I don't personally think that anybody's right to the First Amendment should be curtailed. I think if you have bad things to say, whether it's personnel or officers, you should be allowed to say it. I don't know why anybody should be protected. I understand what Paul is saying about, saying personal things about a person and has nothing to do with the board. You should have run for office if your skin is that delicate and you don't have thick enough skin. It is what it is. I think that it should go back to the committee, because I don't think that it should curtail anybody's First Amendment right. And I think that Matt, being the president, you should be able to say, Heather, hey, what emails have come in? Is there something that's like personal against one of the board members or against one of the personnel? But right now, since it's emails, you can look at it and say, or Heather can talk to Mr. Shaw and say, I had to delete this part of the email, something like that. And when it's before you could just say to the person, listen, you're entitled to your opinion, but it can't be personal. It can't be like, you look at somebody and say, I don't like your car. You know what I mean? Like, it has nothing to do with the school district, but I don't think that anybody's right to the First Amendment should be curtailed. I think everybody's game. Everybody should be able to say what they want, except for the students. I think the students are underage, and I think that they should be protected. But I don't think that, board members' kids should be brought up into the conversation about something. So something like that would bother me. But I think everybody has the right to speak.
Well, with regard to the question, basically, I don't mind, being criticized for whatever in terms of a vote, because at least when I do vote, I try to explain exactly why I vote yes or I vote no. However, when someone reads something saying that basically my Facebook page, is not acceptable to them, and they don't like my political philosophy, I don't think that has anything whatsoever to do with my educational role on this board. And the last letter that came in from someone I understand who doesn't even live in the state, let alone the community, was basically criticizing me, for saying things that one was actually a lie. However, that's fine. I don't mind. But I don't think my Facebook page, which I don't know why you're interested in it, or my political philosophy has anything to do with my role on the Suffern Board of Education. So if you go back and look at that letter that was sent in, you'll see that it was filled with dog whistling, okay, in terms of East Ramapo, and purposely making snide comments that really weren't really acceptable, okay? You can mention the name, but, this is going to now get into Facebook and political philosophy. I totally disagree with that. That's why we discussed that policy. If you want to criticize, that's fine with regard to education and anyone's role on the Board of Education, fine. But I've never, ever seen a Board of Education discuss someone's personal Facebook or political philosophy.
I also think that if there's somebody who's writing in an email, like right now we have control over it. I mean, like, Heather's looking at them before they're read. And if somebody seems like they're not in the school district or what their affiliation is, because when you get up to the mic, you have to say, I live in the school district, or my kids are in the school district, something like that. You have to tell what your relationship is to the school district. If somebody's writing in an email, like what Don just said, it's somebody who's not from the school district. It's not even somebody who lives in the state. Something like that should be stopped right there. I mean, because if somebody walked up to the podium and said, "Hi, I live in California and I have something to say," you're going to stop them.
Well, actually, along those lines, the way the policy is written, there's a different interpretation there. What it says is, persons wishing to address the board will approach the podium and state their name, address, and school community affiliation. Which means, in my mind, if somebody were to get up to the podium and say, I live in New Jersey, but I'm a Suffern High School graduate, this grants them the right to speak, as far as I read it. Now, granted, when we're getting these letters, maybe the people writing the letters aren't providing that information. So we need to make sure that when we receive emails and letters to be read, especially during this remote time, that we have on record from them, where they live and what their affiliation is. Because I don't know if that was being included a month ago, but I don't read that policy as meaning you have to actually live here.
Well, the way you read it, it doesn't say even if you don't live here that you can't speak anyway. Yeah.
Well, it says that you have to state your affiliation. So you can't just get up there and say, hey, I live in Pearl River, but I really hate your district and I want to, talk bad about you for 3 minutes.
Well, it says you have to state your affiliation. It doesn't say that your affiliation has to be with Suffern.
Well, yeah, I mean, technically it's yes. I mean, the wording is school community affiliation.
Yeah.
That's the word in the form policy.
But if somebody says they're affiliated with the Clarkstown School District, does that mean that they can't talk?
Right.
It doesn't say that.
Yeah.
I remember that there was an issue with another coach coming to the podium. Even before I was on the board, they were like saying that so-and-so shouldn't have been able to talk because they're not a coach from the school district. They have no affiliation. I mean, I'm not saying that people should be a resident, because we're going to have kids who live outside the school district who go to school here and their parents have a right to speak. If I'm paying tuition to send my child to Suffern Central School District, I want a right to speak on behalf of my child and what's going on in the school district.
Right, but that's their affiliation. Their affiliation is my child goes to this school in this school district. So that's
exactly.
That's fine. Someone who, and guys, we could be going around and around and around. So probably as a policy committee, I'm just throwing this out there, we need to take a look at 1230 again. This is our first reading. And by the way, at the second reading, it doesn't have to be accepted. It could be, denied, and it has to be thrown back into committee. And then we have to do some work on it. And that's fine. That's fine. Listen, we're not perfect. All right. I'll speak for myself. I'm not perfect.
I thought you were the only perfect one.
Well, you know what? Speak to my sister. She will tell you he is not perfect.
Oh.
So back on the subject, 1230, the first sentence, okay, of the policy says the Board of Education encourages public participation on school-related matters at board meetings, period. Okay? That's what it's supposed to be. With regard to the letter that was read, okay, it says basically that on multiple occasions, I campaigned against the passing of the budget. That's an absolute lie, okay? Yes. I only stated it because I was at the board meeting. I did not campaign against it. Also, there was dog whistling with regard to, they had a vision for this district, one that resembled East Ramapo. That's basically dog whistling that should not be allowed. Number 3, which is really interesting, I would suggest Mr. Cairns get treated for Trump derangement syndrome, okay? I'm sorry, but, with the Facebook stuff, come on, grow up, okay? You can criticize me for anything with regard to educational issues related to the Suffern School Board, but I do not like Betsy DeVos, okay? I'll tell you that right now. So I'm pro-teacher, okay, not the situation at this point. So that's what we meant by those changes, Matt, okay? Basically, participation on school-related matters at board meetings. That's what it's supposed to be.
Okay, I understand, but again, the way that the policy reads and the changes that were made don't provide an opportunity for the public to do that.
The statement that you're looking at says the board will not permit in public session discussion involving individual district personnel or students or officers. That's what it states.
Correct.
The idea was they'll discuss educational issues, but supposedly we always had this beforehand. I think Paul can attest to this, that we basically said, you're not supposed to mention names, okay?
Well, you're not supposed to mention employees or students.
So you've never had a policy. You have a discussion with regard to a school board member stating such and such without mentioning their name, just out of curiosity.
You can't. That's why I'm against you putting it in there.
Not me. There was an agreement. There was 3 people. Okay.
Listen, I don't mean you personally, but the committee. The
you know what?
Presented a policy that says this. I don't agree with it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I think it's wrong.
Look, Matt and Angus and Melissa and Tom and of course Chris, Don, and myself, we will, as a committee, we will be meeting again. Obviously, there are so many policies, and we'll take a look at 1230 again. If it comes up for a second reading, once again, we don't have to accept it, throw it back to committee, but we may be going over it, before that, if we have a meeting within the next 2 weeks. And if we don't, once again, you can throw it back to the committee. So that's fine. That's what we do. Hey, listen, we are always going to be a work in progress. I'm talking about the policy committee. We're always going to be a work in progress, and we have work to do, and that's fine.
All right.
So this is the first reading, and it's good that we got this out.
So does anybody have any comments on 51? Was it 5152?
Yeah, 5152.
And any comments on that policy for first reading? Okay, I'm guessing not. This one is pretty understandable and not controversial.
No.
Are we going to separate out and make it two different resolutions so that we don't vote down?
Well, this is just the first read, so we'll have to wait and see when the policy committee reviews it and comes back for the second reading.
So it's nothing that we vote on tonight?
No, we're just saying that this is the first reading, that's all.
Yeah, actually, I don't think this should have even been an action item. I think it actually should have been an information item.
Or a discussion item?
Well, we definitely discussed it.
Typically, when we bring it for our first reading, it is an action item. One of you could probably move to separate the two if you want. The first reading, the language of what you're voting on is first reading of the policy 1230 and 5152, which are under consideration for revision. That's what you're approving or not approving.
Okay.
So we're definitely approving a revision.
Well, we're approving revision on all three.
Right, no, the 2.15 has different language. It says you're adopting it as a policy.
Right,
The one
that was
you
already done. That was already done.
Because we needed that one for.
That one we had to approve tonight.
Right, that one's done. That one we voted on.
Okay, so let's just take a vote on the first reading that these are under revision and the policy committee is still working on them.
Why don't we table it so we can do it right and get the red line?
Exactly.
You can do that too if somebody wants to make that motion.
I'll make the motion to table it to the next meeting and so we could get the appropriate red line and.
All right, so.
Second.
Okay, so Angus, you're making the motion to table. Olivia, you're making the second. Right? Okay.
All those in favor?
Yeah, are we good? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, any abstentions? Okay.
Just a point of information, since I'm colorblind and I'm red-green colorblind, can maybe pick a blue color?
You could use a highlighter if you want, Paul.
Oh, thanks.
All right, we're going to close action items. We'll go to 4.01, reopening update. Dr. Castaldo, are you doing this one?
No, I'm going to start.
Okay, yep.
I'm going to start. So first of all, our buildings are open. It was so wonderful today. I went to the high school. I saw high school students. I went to Viola. I saw kindergartners. Our kindergartners were at Connor yesterday. Middle school and the other kindergarten orientations are coming in tomorrow and Thursday. It is so wonderful to see our students back. And you really can, for the orientations, you can literally see them smiling. You can see their eyes crinkle and see them smiling. It's so wonderful to see our students back. We've also been busy this week and last week. We had our administratives retreat last week. We have our new teacher orientation and second and third year orientation this week. We're still anticipating what the final decision is going to be on fall sports. We hope to have clarification on that by the end of this week. And our facilities team continues to do amazing work. I was in 3 of our buildings today. The lines are on the floor showing the one-way traffic, the signage, the stickers on the ground showing where 6 feet of distance is in various places. We're getting most of our partitions, our barriers have come in. They're being set up. So it's really, we're really getting close. While we have, of course, postponed in-person learning for the month of September, we are excited to start remote learning on September 10th. And we're really, as we're bringing back people back into the building, refining our protocols, really just making sure everything is perfect with these small groups of students. So when the large groups of students come back in, we have everything fine-tuned. So we are very excited about the opening. Dr. Castaldo, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, just that everybody's been working so hard. It's been wonderful to see all of the administrators, teachers, facilities, everyone just operationalizing that wonderful plan that was put together, through all of these groups through collaboration. So that's been nice to see, but it really is coming together at this point nicely.
Great, thank you. It's, I know I drove my middle schooler over there today to pick up their folder and their planner. And, I had another daughter that was over at orientation at the high school. And it's great to see that there is still some semblance of actual school, even though we're remote, that there's at least, there's still a face-to-face somewhere, just driving through the middle school and, being able to see a few teachers and being able to see assistant principals. It helps. I think it helps with everybody, students and parents alike. So, again, I commend all of you for all the hard work that you've done and that I know you're going to continue to do because we have to.
I did have.
Yep. Who is that?
Melissa.
Okay. Yep.
And I asked this before, so my college student is taking classes online. He's here permanently for now. So one of his college courses is supposed to meet 3 times a week. And the professor is having everything online. So they meet once a week, and it's mostly all administrative information. He's basically not teaching the course. Everything's online. He has to, my son has to read the book and do whatever online. And there might be a video or something sometimes. I'm just hoping that our robust system will not include something like that, where the kids are having to teach themselves the material, but have something that's really hands-on between the teacher. And also, if it's possible, to record the instructional information so that the kids can go back at another time and watch it. And because sometimes I learn it by listening to it a couple of times. So I just wanted to make sure that that's not going to be the case.
So thank you for your question. That will not be the case in our robust remote environment for a couple of reasons. First of all, the state is requiring what the state calls substantive daily contact between students and teachers, which means teachers have to be in contact with students every day, which is very different than we had last spring and different than the experience you just described. We are at all levels following the basic schedule of that building. So the high school is following their period by period schedule, their rotating schedule. The middle school is following their schedule. Elementary is roughly following their schedule, which is a little looser at the elementary level. The teacher has more freedom if they want to do math in the morning and reading in the afternoon, they can switch it, but the class time is still the class time. So the schedules are being followed. The teachers will be providing direct instruction. Of course, that varies on the course, on the level, on the grade level, what content is being learned. With science, that can be done through an experiment as opposed to telling them what's going to happen, but have them actually discover it. The other thing we're doing is with our direct instruction will be recorded so that students who with legitimate reasons cannot view it during the synchronous time would have access to it asynchronously, either because they weren't they have a legitimate reason for not being available at that time, or as you mentioned, they just want to see it a second time. They want to be able to pause it in spots. So they can really take their time with it. We did find in the spring that a lot of our students did take advantage of opportunities like that, where they could absorb the content at the speed that worked for them. When we say that students will be on and following their schedules, though, that doesn't mean, one of the concerns is screen time. So it doesn't mean they're always going to be looking at the screen. The teacher might deliver a short 10, 12-minute mini lesson and then say, okay, go work on these problems and we'll check back in 15 minutes. So that's more of what the kind of thing you'll see. You won't see kids, sitting for 45 minutes listening to one teacher and then a 5-minute break and then 45 minutes listening to another teacher. The idea is to use, our best practices of instruction, just as we do that in person, to do that remotely also. So there's a mix of direct instruction, independent work, group work, opportunity to practice.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Castaldo, also for putting all of that together and working on the reopen committee. I appreciate everything that you guys have done.
All right, any other comments? All right, 6.01 board member comments. Anybody have any comments that they'd like to make at this time?
Yeah, Matt, at this time, I'd like to just reach out to our staff, our secretaries, our custodians, tremendous job in getting our buildings open. I mean, we're gonna, as Lee said, we had students in there today. I just want to wish everybody a safe and healthy start of the year. Thank you for everything that you've done for Suffern Central. And Lee, I really want to thank you for the decisions that you made this year. I know I know there were some real difficult decisions, and I tell you, I was shocked when I heard the first decision, and I didn't think we were going to go that way. But you were the forerunner there, and really, I applaud your courage and thank you for your leadership. It means a lot. And that's why Suffern is what it is. Thank you, Lee. And thank you all. I appreciate it. Go Suffern.
All right, thanks, Tom. Angus, I think, okay.
Yeah, I also took my my middle schooler up to the middle school today to get his belongings, and it was good for him. He was smiling, seeing the staff and the administrators out there, and I want to thank all those people because they were standing out there and dealing with parents and everything. I'm sure people were asking them a lot of questions about what's going to go on, and they were fielding the questions to the best of their ability. But it's a good thing for the kids, and it's a good thing for the parents, and the first real start to normalcy. And I appreciate all those folks doing what they did. And tomorrow my son's going to have the first day of high school, so he's got to go up there for his orientation, so he's looking forward to that. But thank you to the folks that are putting themselves out there and trying to make this school district as best as they can during the difficult times that we're going through now. And I appreciate that help.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? No? Paul, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. I will just ditto in terms of what Tommy said, and the same for Angus. The administrators and the custodial staff, the secretaries, the teaching staff, the central administration, really the building and grounds, everyone. This is an incredible place. It's amazing that we've made it to here, and we're going to get through all of this. And I always remember as a teacher, you know, the beginning of school, I always knew that the kids were getting excited, but as a teacher, I was very excited. It was a brand new start. Now, obviously, this is a little bit different, but I'm sure that the staff is really chomping at the bit to really get going and to get back into meeting with their kids. And hopefully within a month, they'll be meeting with them face to face. They may not recognize the faces because they'll be covered. But they'll be meeting with them in terms of Zoom or Google Meet or whichever. And it's really just always an exciting time, the beginning of September. I hope everyone stays healthy, stays safe. And I want to thank my fellow board members. This discussion about just that one little policy, you know, it was good to hear everyone's opinion. And you know, we are a good group of 7, and we don't always agree, but we really have come a long way, I think, and we really compliment each other. And I don't mean giving out compliments. We've kind of melded, and it's really good. And I know it gives me a good feeling. So thank you for that. I'm finished.
Thank you. Anybody else? Going once? Twice? Okay. I'll close this portion of the meeting and move to public participation on any district-related matters. Heather, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Nope. Okay. We'll close that portion and move to acting superintendent's closing comments.
So I'd just like to echo what many of the board members said. I'm so honored to work in this school district. We have the best colleagues in the world. Everyone has worked so hard this summer to make everything happen. Everyone is so eager to get things started. I can't wait for next week. We are having our staff come in on Tuesday and Wednesday for our orientation day and superintendent's conference day. And I can't wait to see the energy they bring. And then on Thursday, to see our students start their year remotely. And I'm looking forward to a great year. It will a start like no other, a year like no other, but I know because of who we are, it will be a success.
I agree. Is that it?
That's it.
That's it? Okay. All right. I'm just going to say that, before we close, normally this meeting is the night before the first day of school. And I'm pretty sure that in all the years I've been on the board, this meeting is the Tuesday right before the first day of school. So, I think we're used to kind of saying, have a great first day tomorrow. And this year's different, not just because the calendar is kind of wonky because of the late Labor Day, but obviously because of the remote learning. So instead of saying, have a great first day tomorrow, have a first great day on the 10th for all our students. We don't meet again until after that. So I just want to wish everybody a great start to the new school year. Even though we'll be remote, we're all still a community, and we're all still, we're still part of our schools. And I know that our teachers are going to do a great job of engaging and making sure that all the students in this district are taken care of and feel like they're part of the classroom. So thank you all. And at this time, I will make a motion to adjourn. Motion?
Move.
Who was that? Was that
Me.
Mr. Shapiro? Second?
Second, Paul, Matt.
Mr. Connolly? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you
Good
all.
night,
very
all.
much.
Good night.
Great start to the school year.
Bye, everyone.